Have you ever wanted to be a city building wizard? Well, you can do that today in Sorcerer City. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dice Odyssey. I'm Kaz, and today we're going to be talking about a city building, kind of a deck building style tile building game called Sorcerer City. And basically, it's just what I said. You are a group of wizards and you're trying to build your own district in a city, or basically your own city, and you're trying to fight off monsters, you're trying to gain more spells to, basically create your city in different, more interesting ways. You're gathering resources like raw magic and money. Think of Carcassonne with a fantasy theme and a tiny bit more complexity and a timed element. Now, I have to be honest with you. When I first got this game into review, I was not greatly looking forward to this, okay? It was not really on my radar and all of that, and I absolutely hate timed elements in games. It can actually make me hate a game, even if the rest of the game is good. I'm not a massive fan of Galaxy Trucker, for example, or, Escape, Curse of the Temple, and things of that nature. Because of the nature of the timed element, how absolutely, tense it gets and things like that, and it just can cause panic attacks, if you're running out of time, you're trying to create something. So for me, I was not looking forward to this game. Did it win me over? That's the question. Well, I'm going to get to my final thoughts after I show you just a quick brief overview of how the game plays. I'm not going to hit necessarily every single rule. I just want to give you the spirit of the game, and then we'll get back to my final thoughts. Each player will start off with their own city tiles, character cards, and annual progress track. This actually keeps track of many different things, including raw magic, influence, money, and prestige, which are also points. You may use the included sand timer or the actual Sorcerer City app, which includes 3 different settings for timers. You have an easy mode, which is 3 minutes. You have a normal mode, which is 2 minutes, and a hard mode, or as I like to call it, masochist mode, which is 1 minute. You start the timer, and everyone begins building their city tiles out simultaneously. Once a timer runs out, all players must stop building. Now, there are several different types of colors in the game which represent the different sorts of resources represented on your progress track. Now, to actually complete a goal, you must have at least 3 minimum of what that goal is asking you to complete. For example, this goal here says that you must have at least 3 of this color represented in your city. It doesn't matter what the shape is, it just has to be at least 3 of that. Now, you could have as many as you want as long as they are connecting. This tile scores a straight line goal. In this case, you have 4, so you get 4 points in raw magic. This tile goal basically counts the amount of shield tile goals that are neighboring this particular tile. That means diagonally, horizontally, or vertically. You'll go ahead and score districts individually on annual progress tracks, and then you'll prepare to transform raw magic into something else. You have 3 character cards which represent influence, money, and prestige. You'll take whichever cards you want, and you'll secretly place it face down, and then all players will flip the card that they chose, and then will proceed to transfer all of their raw magic into whichever category they chose. You'll then move into the influence rewards and buying tiles phase. The game rounds are represented by years, and each year you have an influence reward represented here at the top, except for year 5. And all players are racing to the top of the influence track to see who can actually get the first pick. For example, the first player on year 1 will gain a prestige and card reward. Now, after everyone's gained their influence rewards, move into the market. This is where you're able to buy different tiles. You'll get to buy up to 2 tiles unless you passed $20 on money. In that case, you get an extra. And there are many different types. For example, you have one here that says gain a tile costing up to $6 for free. You have another one here that says kill a monster. Now, rainbow tiles are wild, and they can be used to complete goals for any other color in the game. And if you'd like to see more of a component breakdown of all the different tiles and things of that nature, we did an unboxing, which you can click on here. After all players have bought, you go ahead and collect prestige. Once that's done, you go to the cleanup phase. Once monsters start coming out, you'll shuffle the monsters for the next round and you'll give one to each player. Take the dragon, for example. As soon as the dragon tile is placed in the district, it permanently destroys one city tile adjacent to it. Once this dragon has destroyed the tile, your district may be disconnected. This dragon can be used to kill other monsters. You're going to continue this for round after round after round until year 5. At the end of that year, you're going to calculate all of your prestige. Whoever has the most points from that is the winner. Now, there are different variants in the game you can use. A solo variant, as well as an artifact variant. But let's go ahead and get back to my final thoughts. First things first, I'm going to get into my pros, then I'm going to get into my cons, if any, and then I'm going to get into my final rating. Number 1, okay, first off, look at this artwork, okay? Look at the artwork. Woo! Enough said. The artwork is phenomenal. Almost all the way across the board. There's a couple things that weren't like catching me, but the majority of everything in the game I absolutely fell in love with, okay? That's number 1. For me, I think the monster tiles, because they're all the same color, well, majority of them are all the same color in terms of the color of the monsters. I kind of wish they'd have changed that up a little bit, but I can understand probably why they kept those the same across the board. It's easier to delineate which tiles are which. If you have too many colors on the board, it could confuse you when you're putting tiles in. So I can kind of understand why they went that way with the monsters. Just didn't catch me as much as some of the other things, but I just love having a massively cool, colorful city. And so if we're talking about graphics layout, cool, beautiful, colorful city coming out, and I'm busy trying to, formulate how those colors are going to go. That leads me into mechanics. Mechanics are amazingly fun in this game. I love the idea of building my city out in such a way that I am sitting there and I'm twisting colors to make them match and to make a connected city. And then sometimes you just have goals where it doesn't matter as much about the color. They're just worried about the little shields that you get in a particular district area. And you can get points off of that. That's another thing I love about this. I didn't think I was going to like this, but the different tracks that they have to show you the raw magic and the prestige and the influence and what's the other thing? The money. I honestly wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it, but I love the fact that how I build my city out, if my tiles aren't coming out a way that I would like, I can switch strategies or tactics, I guess you could say, in the middle of it and go, okay, this is not working. Let me try to build out influence instead of more money, and if I can get that influence, maybe I can gain some extra prestige and get first on the influence track. But I love that race to try to get the most influence and to try to beat people out for different rewards. It was so satisfying, especially when you did it. I love the idea that I can throw a card down. You have the 3 different cards that allow you to take raw magic and transfer all that raw magic into one of your other resource categories. So if you were doing crappy on influence and you needed that influence rating up, you see your friends at the table, you're taking a guess, and they're kind of all bluffing you out, going, which way do you think they're gonna go? I wonder. I hope he doesn't pick influence. I think I can do it. Okay, let me pick influence. And you transfer all your raw magic and you beat somebody on influence, and maybe they went with money, right? I like the idea that if you were doing something you were not doing or excelling at something you really wanted, that little bluffing round, so to speak, it allows you to kind of, in a way, catch yourself up so that when you go into the market phase, you can do more with it. You know what I mean? Or you just may want a lot of points with prestige. And I have to say, the production quality in this game is phenomenal. Now, I will say this too, I got the retail edition and I still got a lot of the game tray stuff. I think it's game trays, but the beautiful inserts, this is what Druid City and Skybound games are kind of known for, is their gorgeous inserts. They had it with Grim Forest, and they had it with, I'm forgetting the name of the other game that the Guardians Call, I think, had a really nice insert. They have not changed in that regard. Oh my gosh. And I couldn't stick with the cardboard coins. I had to procure myself some metal coins. It's kind of like, begging and pleading, hoping they had them, and I was able to get some. So yes, those metal coins are they're just like little throwing stars, you know? If somebody is winning at the table, you just take them out. Another major pro is that market phase. Going in and being able to purchase different tiles that I want to purchase. Some of them spells, some of them more colors, some of them more goals that can build my city out more. And I have an idea of which way I want to go by what I am buying, right? So I kind of get an idea of what's going to be coming out of that stack and how I've built it. It feels like a standard deck builder. And I like deck building in games. And this really hit that sweet spot for me. When it comes to the monsters, the fact that you have to fight off the monsters that are coming out each round, and there's so many monsters in the game that no two games usually are going to play alike. You know, there's so much variability and so many tiles, especially I think if you got expansion tiles. I don't think I got necessarily all the expansion tiles. I think the Kickstarter edition had that, but even the retail edition has so many tiles in the game. The variability is amazing. And I honestly thought that this game was a lot easier to get into than I thought it was going to be. It definitely has some complexity, but it's not overwhelming complexity. I think about maybe 2 to 3 rounds, you've pretty much figured the game out. The only real thing that you could run into is trying to figure out what monsters are coming out and what they do. And I won't necessarily call this a con, but we did have to stop the game a couple of times, you know, pause the timer, which I'll get to in a minute. And people had questions. Okay, I forgot what the monsters do again. I just had it come out of the stack, because there's a little bit of tension with that timer going on. So you might run into that, but I don't consider that necessarily a con. It's just we were learning the game. And once you play a few games of this, you've got that down. The only thing you're going to have to try to remember are the monsters, because everything else in general is pretty well explained. The rule book in general was really good. Man, I got a lot of pros about this game, and I think I'm going to tell you why I like this game so much too, because I went into it with such low expectations. I really thought I was going to hate this game. I really did. Cover notwithstanding, it was gorgeous. I trust Druid City Games and Skybound Games for their quality, but let's get to the elephant in the room, the timer, okay, the timed element. I'm not calling this a pro or a con. It's just, it's there. It's not something I enjoy in games anyway, so I don't expect me to enjoy it here. But I feel like in most games, not all, but most games, I hate the timed element. I hate the stress of trying to do that race against everyone else, and you feel like you're running out of time. I like to take time with my games to figure strategies out and tactics out and things of that nature. And I feel like a timer sometimes just, I get that it moves the game along, and I understand that, but I normally hate that in games just because I don't feel like I ever have enough time. In this game, I feel like they did it right. And that was the greatest surprise in this game. I went from I'm gonna hate this to I absolutely adore this game. I feel like that the timer, now I will say, I don't think 2 minutes is long enough. Now some people will be okay with that, but I'm talking about my own subjective thing. And many people at the table agreed with me. 2 minutes is not long enough. Now, if you're using your phone, you put it on easy mode, and that's pretty much what we played on the whole time. We did not want to play any higher than that because that gives you 3 minutes. And I felt like, because the first couple of rounds, your deck's not that big typically, your tile deck, right? And so you don't have to worry about that getting close to that 3 minute mark. You might be okay with a 2 minute timer. But as your deck continues to grow, that 3 minute timer looks mighty tasty in comparison, you know what I mean? So we just stuck with 3 minutes the whole time, because for me, if that 3 minute, I'm being honest with you, if that 3 minutes was not in there, I wouldn't like this game. I really wouldn't. I think 2 minutes for me would be too short. But 3 minutes is right about at the sweet spot for where I need to be. And there was only 1 or 2 rounds out of all these games that I played of it where I didn't feel like I was being so crushed by that time frame. It was just enough if you go easy. Now again, you might be okay with 2, and my goodness, you're a masochist if you want to go with 1. That's the hard mode. Finally, somebody, just for me personally, did a timed element in a game right. I love you for it. I love you for it. Scott Caputo's killing it, because he also has another game I love, 100 Tory. Great designer. Anyway, now we are going to go ahead and get into some cons, because there were definitely some things in the game that, again, some of it could be subjective, but there's definitely one thing that is absolutely objective, okay? If you don't like timed element games, this could be a hit or miss. I'm telling you, I think it's a hit, okay? I really do. But you may not like it, so we'll go ahead and get that out of the way. We already talked about it in length. That could be a con for you. Number 2, the big boy in the room for me and everybody at the table, This thing is a gigantic table hog, okay? It's a massive table hog. I'm not saying Twilight Imperium 4 kind of massive or anything, but what I am saying is you need a lot of build area in your table, in your area specifically, to build your city out. There were a couple of times that, you know, sometimes once in a while a city would run into each other. Now I have a 5 foot, I guess, circumference, diameter, what have you, table. It's a round table, and I have a 5 foot table, and it was, to put the market on the table was enough. I mean, it was a decent amount of room on one side, right? That with 3 players, we were feeling slightly cramped, just slightly. But what we ended up doing when we had more than 3 players was we had to put a table over to the side and put the market over there. People literally had to get up and go look at it, okay? We were enjoying the game so much that didn't bother us, right? But the fact that we had to, once we had more players, put a table to the side just to put the market on it, just to understand, that's how big of a table hog this is, because once you get 4 players at this table, and I would not want to play this with 5 or 6 on this table, right? You would need 2 tables probably, or a massively, just a gigantic table to play this on. This would be a good game for cons in that regard. I did not want to play this with more than 4 players on this table. Now, did it play well with you know, 3 and 4 and such? Yes. But I don't want to play it all on one table, specifically this one, because it just takes up too much room. It just does. I mean, even with 4 players, some of our cities were kind of getting close to each other, you know what I mean? So you need a lot of play area to play this, and that could be a massive con for some people. Now, I will say that the 2-player game's fun. It's not a con so much, but I typically don't like automated players. I mean, I've played solo games and it has that, but I'm talking about if you have a 2-player game and then you have an automated player, simulated player, or whatever on the side, it's fine. It's not necessarily my preferred way to play. I think 3 or higher is great. Anyway, I know I've gushed about this, but that is how great for me this game turned out. Being when I walked into it saying I'm going to hate this, I was convinced. My biases were just like, you know, on overdrive, right? They were on overdrive. And I came out of it, I told my bias to shut his face, and I said, I'm going to enjoy this game. I'm going to try to enjoy it. I'll try to work with that timed element, and it just rocked my socks off. I'm not wearing socks right now anyway, but you get my point. So yeah, Sorcerer City, this right now, as of right now, I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. That's how much fun I had with this Joker. And I am so excited. Like everybody at the table when we played it the first time, they were like, so next game night, we're playing Skin, right? Many times, or you know, whatever. Yes. We are. Have you had a chance to play Sorcerer City yet? What did you think? Anyway, thank you so much again for watching. Me just got gush. Please like and subscribe, and if you like the content so you can continue to get more reviews. Also, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, The Dice Odyssey. You have a blessed day, and game away. This video is brought to you by Fallen Dominion Studios. Check out their website at fallendominionstudios.com.